In every generation, two Prose are born. Chosen to watch every episode of Buffy and tell you what they think about them. This is the Prose Visit Sunnydale. Season 2.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Prose Bros Visit Sunnydale. I'm Eddie Cruz.
And I'm Geoff.
And today we are doing Season 2, Episode 18, Killed by Death.
Killed by Death.
The fucking worst episode of Season 2.
I thought it was the best so far.
Yeah?
No. Is it the worst so far? For you, is it the worst?
Let's talk about that. All right. Yes, it's 100% the worst one I've seen, in my opinion. Even other episodes that were bad, including like Bad Eggs. I would say Bad Eggs is probably the worst besides this so far.
Yeah, I'm trying
and at least that one, it actually held my attention. It was just a poor episode. It had nothing to do with the overall plot. It didn't offer anything except for maybe an angel fight between him and Xander. There was nothing there.
Yeah, there's a couple things, but it wasn't meaty enough, I guess.
No meat. This was I went to a rib hut of some sort, not the rib hut, and they just fed me bones.
A generic rib hut.
A generic rib hut, and they fed me bones. Yeah. No meat on those bones.
Yeah, so I was looking back some of the other episodes, and I would say the one I liked the least before this one was Bad Eggs, and now it's this one.
Yeah, 100%. Bad Eggs is monumentally better than this episode. So what was this episode about, Jeffrey?
Well, it was about little kids who get sick and see monsters.
Again.
Yes. Just like the first time around.
Nightmares. We're talking about season 1, episode whatever, Nightmares. Essentially the other Freddy Krueger episode, right?
Yeah. It's just not done well. Anyway, starts out in the cemetery. And we see Buffy patrolling, and something's off. Something instantly feels off with her patrolling. She runs into the Scoobies and, I guess, almost stakes Xander.
All of the Scoobies, right? Just like they're all there for some reason. They're hanging out at... It feels like 11 o'clock p.m., right? It feels like super late, like she snuck back out of her house after curfew kind of thing.
I always wonder what time it is when she goes patrolling, because it should be... I mean, she shouldn't do it consistently, and I would think it would be a lot later because she has to wait till her mom's like super asleep.
Yeah, like beyond like wake up because of a light noise asleep.
Yeah, and 11 seems too early.
Yeah, but at the same time, fantasy show where all the kids go to sleep at 9.
Sure, who knows what time is it? It is.
Either way, they were all able to break out of their houses at the same time and meet her at the cemetery, which is something they never do, which I think is already a glaring misstep in the writing of this episode.
Well, I can understand this one at least, just because they're all there to stop Buffy from patrolling, right?
Yeah.
Because they care for her. Or at least Willow and Xander are there, and Cordelia is just there because
she was blowing Xander at curfew.
Sure, why not?
There you go.
So yeah, maybe it is a lot earlier because they all got out. But none of their other parents seem to care what the fuck they're doing.
Not at all. Not at all.
So Buffy's sick. They're all trying to convince her to not patrol because, what if Angel shows up, and Angel shows up. And
yeah.
He does a shitty job attacking Buffy, I think.
He seems very eager in the fight. I don't know. The whole episode seems off to me. This episode felt like fan fiction to me, including the angel fight, everything. It's just kind of like nothing mattered really to like the overall arc of the story.
It doesn't
felt
affect
like
the season at all.
You could
really
take this episode completely out of the season and nothing would change.
Yeah?
Nothing at all. So it just, even the fight, there was no gravitas to anything. And I get it. the Scoobies kind of throw a bag over his head and then kind of point crosses at him till he leaves, and showing like the Scoobies save Buffy again. This might have been another time that Buffy died if she didn't have her support family around her. However, that's already been established in other episodes in better ways.
Yeah. And another thing, the last time we see Angel, he's killing Jenny Calendar. It matters. It means something. This time, he basically just shows up at the graveyard to fuck with Buffy again. Yeah. And we've seen that so many times.
Not literally.
Well, I mean, yeah, not... who knows what his intentions were.
That's true.
But,
That's true.
Yeah, so it's, like you said, meaningless. Either way, the Scoobies save the day in a kind of pathetic battle between Buffy and Angel, and then... again, throwing some sort of bag or something on Angel and getting him to leave.
It looked like, just a burlap sack that they all had lying around
somewhere.
I don't know who has those other than potato pickers of some sort.
Props department.
There you go.
Had extra.
Boom. We had extra burlap. Here you go. Throw this on his head, and the episode will be worse. Yeah.
Uh-huh. After Angel runs away... Buffy collapses, and they all take her to the hospital, and they realize that she has a fever of some sort.
The service at the hospital was on point. That's something I have to say. Like, I've been to a lot of hospitals lately because childbirth and all that, but you don't get treated like that. And also, the nurse practitioner was probably the same age as everybody else that they were taking in, except for he had a goatee. So, cigarettes make you evil. Goatees make you older.
Okay, yeah. I totally agree with that.
New canonical. I'm trying to find merits in this episode that actually changed Buffy and established principles in Buffy.
Man,
there we go. I'm stretching here.
Good luck with that so far. So Buffy's in the hospital because there's a flu or fever or some sort of illness going around the school. She got it, and all the Scoobies are there trying to, I guess. Make her feel better. She's in that stretcher, and she's going off talking about vampires because she's delusional.
Typical, right? They get there, and she's like, something's wrong here, and they're immediately like, calm down, you're just being sick or something. So they, once again, don't believe her when she has an opinion about something, essentially the exact same plot of Nightmares of the other episode. Just nothing different. Nothing. Even the bad guy is dressed like Freddy Krueger.
Does Freddy Krueger have a fedora?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. I guess the only difference is this guy has like Hulk Hogan haircut with the fedora.
He does have a Hulk Hogan haircut, and instead of like knives for fingers, he just has like Nosferatu style long fingernails.
He has like eyeballs that suck out your
he has two dicks that come out of his eyes, like two little dicks that like their mouths open up and they suck the brains out of your head or something. I don't know what those things do, but they stick to your head and they like just attach themselves and you start sucking. I don't know.
I think they explained it a little bit in the episode and we kind of tuned out. I remember them at one point explaining how this monster, I don't. Is he eating them or sucking their soul? I think
they just established the fact that he's eating the kids. I don't know.
He sits on your chest like an 8th grade middle school bully, and I don't know. Spits in your eyes, spits in your mouth, right?
Instead of spitting in your mouth, he sucks your brain fluid out of your head.
Okay.
Using little penises to come out of his eyes.
So all the Scoobies leave, and Buffy's alone in the hospital by herself. She's super sick, and the audience, or at least I did, think she's delusional.
Yeah.
Obviously not this time around. I know what the fuck's going on. Delusional sees this little boy followed by Freddy Krueger.
Yeah. With gigantic pig tusks. Like his teeth, his bottom teeth have gotten into kind of a bulldog territory. I don't know how to describe this guy. It looks like a witch with an underbite.
Yeah.
And gigantic, huge husk.
I would say like boar's tusks.
Yeah, boar's tusks. Yeah.
So there we go.
And a Hulk Hogan haircut.
Meanwhile, we're seeing like these scenes of this little girl playing with this other little girl. And it's clearly a flashback, or at least you get it's like this hazy white shot, right? I initially, the first time seeing it, I was like, oh, this is a flashback of Buffy.
Yeah,
right?
definitely. And it's also one of those things where she stares off and it cuts to that scene, cuts back. It doesn't really explain anything at the beginning.
They have the Wayne's World, the doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo.
I would say that even though it doesn't explain anything at the beginning, you kind of understand what's happening. And it's like, oh, the writers don't really have a leg to stand on. So they're making this a flashback of her childhood and how this monster is associated to her in childhood. It's something they did in Friday the 13th in like part 4 or 5, where like the girl had an experience with Jason before where he like almost caught her but then let her go. And it's one of those things where it's like a pointless flashback to try to establish something because there's nothing else there. There's no actual meat to the episode. So they're like, how can we make this like matter? How can we make this story fucking matter in any way, shape, or form?
And they've already established that Buffy's real family is the Scoobies. So all of a sudden we're hearing about this cousin that she had this great relationship that's never been brought up before. So as the audience, I'm like, I don't give a fuck about this cousin.
What was that little girl's name? I think her first name was Plot and her last name was Device. I'm pretty sure. Hey, Plot Device. I loved hanging out with you when we were little kids.
It's weird that you would, call somebody by their full name, but hey, that's fine.
Especially when they're your cousin.
Yeah. So Buffy is wandering down the halls after this, trying to, I guess, find out what the fuck is going on, really. She's still sick. She overhears this doctor, and he seems kind of ominous. You can't really hear what's going on, but he's talking about the kids and getting sick and dying, and she doesn't want to get seen. She turns around, and she sees these other little kids who are, in my opinion, kind of creepy. They pop up out of nowhere.
Yeah, it seems the entire episode is trying to, I guess, be a misdirect kind of thing, and just failing horribly.
I think
Number one, they already showed you the monster. So they show you the monster, and then they go like, oh no, it's the doctor. And then they're like, oh, look at these creepy kids. But you already saw the monster, so you know that the kids are good people, and the doctor's probably a good person. So the misdirect is lost.
I think it's just poorly done, and I think a lot of it is trying to do this like kind of dream thing where Buffy's sick and it distorts your perspective because hers is all off too. I think that's what they were going for, but it is not done well.
No. And I mean, yes, it's probably better than I could do if I tried to make an episode of Buffy, but god damn, this is just I did not enjoy this episode at all.
So right after that, Angel stops by the hospital, and this is probably one of the better scenes. There are a few gems in this episode. This is one of them where you have this confrontation in a way between Xander and Angel. I guess it's just Angel fucking with Xander. While I love that scene, I don't know why it's happening.
It feels out of place, and it feels like something Angel wouldn't do. It seems like they really wanted to have that happen, and so they forced it into the episode. But Angel Lewis is so evil that he wouldn't just go talk shit to Xander at the hospital for fun. Like, I mean, I would say that like, and I'm not saying the Angel would do this either, but I would say that like popping his tires in the in the parking lot would be more evil than what he actually does in this episode.
Well, Xander doesn't have a car yet.
Okay, well, I don't know, man. Spitting in his face would have been more productive than showing up and talking a bunch of shit and walking out like a...
I would like to have seen another scene where it's Angel's like, well, Buffy's in the hospital. I'm going to go fuck with Xander a little bit. And Spike's all, are you fucking kidding me? Yeah. Will you do something? And he's like, I don't know.
Like, he's like, when are you going to try to kill her? And not to mention, this is the perfect time to try to kill her, right? Like, if he's actually that evil, wouldn't he go in there and just kill all of her friends and then kill her in the hospital?
Yeah, and I think, again, the writers try to do something where it's through Xander. It's like, well, I'd like to see you try with me and the orderlies and all these doctors and everybody else. But
I mean, he's done worse, right? He's killed villages at this point, right?
Yeah.
I mean, why not kill a hospital? And not to mention also a hospital that clearly looks like a hospice center or like an old people, like a retirement home. So the security is a 34-year-old guy with no hair that he could obviously beat up because vampire super strength.
Where there's two dudes. I like how that guy came back. He was there for a full day of shooting, and they were going to use him.
I think that guy was the best actor in this episode. He really tried his ass off.
He's a comedian, right?
I don't know.
Like, I've seen him in other stuff before.
I think he's just one of those unsung heroes that just forever be an extra.
Like, no, I don't think so at all. We have to look this up. He's one of those actors that's like, oh my god, that guy, and you'll see him in other shit. He is definitely not an extra, and I know he's done other stuff.
Clint
I'll
Howard.
have to see. Yeah,
He's a Clint Howard. He's somebody's brother.
His hero would be Clint Howard. I thought he was a comedian.
I've always looked up to Clint Howard.
I mean, they do have a similar aesthetic going on.
Yeah.
So Buffy wakes up and she's fine because she's the Slayer and she heals super fast, right?
Yeah.
The Scoobies come, and I thought they were there to pick her up from the hospital because you can't walk out of a hospital.
No.
You have to be put into a wheelchair. Mm-hmm. So Buffy is in a wheelchair, and they wheel her out, but apparently they're just hanging out with her? Right?
Yeah, they're like, hey, you're super sick, and we all came to visit you.
And just walk around with her. Like, yeah. I guess it's like...
it's kind of like with her at the beginning, like going out patrolling and all of them showing up.
See, but
it just doesn't seem real.
I've been to the hospital, and they just don't let you get in a wheelchair, put you in a wheelchair, and let your friends take you outside for a while.
That's not true. I've done that.
Really?
Yeah, to a guy that had like incredible brain, like face trauma. Not a guy, a good friend of mine.
I got screwed out of that experience.
Yeah, but also, I mean, when I showed up, they were like, yeah, he has this tube in his chest, and it's going to be in there for 3 days, so...
They could have managed.
Yeah, and after that, they were like, yeah, we poisoned him with that tube in his chest, so he's going to be in here for another 2 weeks.
Fuck, man.
That was shitty, man. It was like one of those things where you visit your friend, and you're like, man, I love you, but this isn't getting better.
Yeah, it's I remember the first time... And I was like, I'm doing all right. And then the second time was just miserable because I wanted to leave.
I went in there and I was just like, I felt like I was visiting somebody in prison. Like, just like, hey, man, can you go talk to the doctor? And I was like, dude, the doctor's not going to listen to me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, apparently you can do that. So that's all right, I guess. One thing I did love about them taking Buffy out was Cordelia. Her lack of tact, I guess, and saying, are you sure you're just not coming up with like a real monster to fight because you're afraid of death and your cousin was killed in a hospital? Which I really liked in a way. I liked that it was super funny, but why does Cordelia know that?
I mean, why not give it to Cordelia at this point? If nobody's going to give a fuck about the plot or anything like that or who says what, why not give it to Cordelia? Give that line to Cordelia. Whatever.
Yeah, at least it's funny, and I think that's part of the only thing I can really say that I really did like about the episode, because it's few
There's
and far
definitely
between.
Moments in it that I enjoyed, but overall, it's hard to like something. It's hard to like the inside of a chocolate that's made out of poop. Like, if the inside's chocolatey nougat, that's fine. But the overall surrounding is caca.
Okay. Yeah, so this is where Buffy's saying that basically setting out the plan, right? Mm-hmm. And Xander's idea is that he's going to go look after Buffy and help her out in the hospital. And Cordelia said, sure, why not? Well, in a way. At first, she's basically complaining that Xander's constantly, like, quote, looking after Buffy's back, and meaning he still has feelings, he's checking her out, this and that. They resolve that pretty fast, though.
Yeah, it's incredibly fast. He walks out, and it might as well have never happened.
Yeah, she comes back with like a little Krispy Kreme bag, which at another location to Sunnydale, they have a Krispy Kreme. I don't know if that's...
Yeah. I don't know. Was it a Krispy Kreme bag, like, literally?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Or at least looked so much like a Krispy Kreme bag that I was fooled.
I was like, I had no idea Krispy Kreme was around back then. Wow, this episode's so good that we're talking about
the
Krispy Kreme.
bag in the Krispy Kreme, yeah.
This is awesome.
Meanwhile, in the library, Giles is discussing the monster and the fact that grown-ups can't see the monster, which is... It's cool in a fairy tale sort of sense, but it's... Buffy has done it, and I think it's kind of lame at this point.
It's very convenient. It's already happened before. I'm over it. Let's move on.
So Cordy's flirting with the security guard to get information, right?
Yeah.
Making Xander jealous. She gets the information she needs, which is basically about the Dr. Backer, which is still this misdirect. Like, it could be him, that he's the one that's poisoning these kids. Buffy decides that she's going to go back to the hospital because apparently she got released.
All right, I'm going to stop you because I can't fucking take it, man. I can't fucking take this episode anymore. Here's what happens the rest of the episode, okay? Freddy Krueger, not the monster from this episode, attacks the doctor. The doctor gets killed and dragged away. Some other bullshit happens. Then all the kids decide to run away. They run away to the sewer and the fucking monster starts killing them one by one. Buffy comes up, save the kids. She gets into a fight with the monster. She breaks his neck. End of the episode. It's over.
You forgot the part where the little penises...
Oh, the penises come out and suck
eyes.
on her head for no reason because she just grabs his neck and breaks it, and the episode's over. Then she gets the episode ends with one of the little kids drawing a picture of her killing a monster.
Yes.
Done. That's it. That's it. Oh, man. I'm kind of disappointed, man. This is my favorite day of the week, doing a podcast with you, and this episode sucked.
Yeah, it was a little rough.
Yeah, this was not fun to watch. It's not fun to talk about.
And I was trying to get some sort of theme. It's something about like innocence, but it's done poorly because it's not about innocence. It's about being sick.
Yeah.
So only kids who are sick, and not even kids, because Buffy can see it. But
yeah,
I mean, I don't know.
Some kind of relation. We can try to put some kind of something into this, but fuck this episode. This episode should be called "Fuck You, Watchers." We're tired. We're gonna take a week off.
Yeah,
like it felt like that. I feel like the actors still brought their A game.
Great moments with Cordelia and Xander, but like we said, they have an issue. It gets resolved super fast. The issue is still that Xander is in love with Buffy, and Cordelia seems fine with it. Mm-hmm. And it makes me feel worse for Cordelia.
Yeah.
She uses her sex appeal to get information. It's more of the same.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Is this the type of episode that gave season 2 a bad name? You know what I mean? Like, you talk to anybody that's a true Buffy fan, and they say, if I'm going to rewatch the show, I usually start season 3. Or I'll start season 2, but I don't love season 2. Season 3 is where I start loving it.
I think people block this out.
Yeah.
I think when people think season 2, because if I were to say season 2 before we started talking
I think about 6 or 7 episodes.
Would you think about this
Not
episode?
This episode, no.
Enough so that when we were trying to remember, we were getting confused with the Nightmares episode.
Yeah, because it's the same fucking episode.
It's so similar.
Yeah.
And that one was good for season 1.
I would say
they redo it, and it's
the only
terrible.
thing that's better is the monster, but at this time, he's better and worse. Because he's better, yet he's such a carbon copy of Freddy Krueger at this point, and then completely bland because they just call him Death. So there's nothing original about the character except for he looks cooler and has cute little CGI penises that come out of his eyes.
So I'm going to ask you this question, and I don't even know if we can answer it well, but why not? We're talking about it. How would you have made this episode better? Or what do you think could have been done? I mean, obviously a lot could have been, and I'm not talking about like how it's edited or anything like that. What do you feel like they could have done or left out to make this better?
I think they should have left out the whole episode and all just gone to Six Flags. Like, take the budget to this episode and just go to Six Flags and have a fun day.
Is there another episode? Isn't there another episode where Buffy's sick?
Yes, I think there's several. There are several times she gets sick. I mean, besides Nightmares in this one, she gets sick a couple of more times, and there's that one where he uses that rock to make her weak.
Kryptonite.
Yes.
I think if they wanted to do an episode like that, and clearly that wasn't their intent, the writers, but they could have done a Buffy is not only emotionally, mentally damaged at this point because of Angel, but she's sick and having to deal with that. I think they could have had a lot more fun with that.
Yeah.
And I think it would have been equally as fun if the entire Scooby gang would have gotten sick. They talked about the entire school getting sick. Wouldn't it have been cool to see Giles not on his A game and being able to relate with Buffy? Snyder not on his A game? All the Scoobies and everybody in the Buffy world, all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, Buffy, you have to not only be a superhero, but you're sick and you're dealing with heartbreak.
That sounds like a great episode. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. Like, you have a great premise. Keep it in their world. Keep it at the school. Now you can move together, like move along plot. You can add little tidbits. Fucking Oz could have shown up. Like, they could have had so much more things in this, but they took it out of there. They added a fake cousin, and they made me a shit sandwich.
Could I say this? If we're going to throw Oz in there, there's just this one scene where, in my Buffy episode, where you cut to Oz, he's in his room, he has a thermometer under his mouth, pulls it out, looks at it, he's like, huh, I'm sick. That's the only time you see Oz in the entire episode.
That would have been brilliant. See, now you're talking about great writing. You're a great writer, Geoff.
Well, no, these characters are established. You just got to use them.
There you go. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't have much else to say about this episode.
I don't think I do either. I want to go back to the... Well, I want to talk about the deaths, but I think I forgot to write them down. Let's see if we can remember them.
Okay, so at the beginning of the episode...
Does dying of a natural death in Sunnydale... I guess that would count as a death, right?
Yeah, but we didn't meet that guy beforehand.
True. Or one of the kids, right?
One of the kids died, and they just kind of wheel him out. She has a sheet over her.
Okay,
but remember we said you have to see him die?
Oh, yeah. They have to be dead within the episode. All right, so if there's a natural death, you have to see the natural death.
Yeah.
We'll establish that.
Uh-huh.
And that'll come up, obviously, season 5. So that doesn't count. Doctor dies. Mm-hmm. So that's one. And then
he's killed by Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
Krueger.
Kinderstad.
Kinderstad. She dies.
That's the monster's name.
What? No, the monster's name was Death, no?
No. the kids call it Death, but it's Kinderstad. That's what Giles says, and they repeat it several times because Cordelia says that.
I don't care.
And I even thought it was funny because Cordelia says it and Buffy repeats it like instantly, like, oh no, that's perfectly how you pronounce that. So
okay,
yeah, there
cool.
we go. So Dr. Backer, Freddy Krueger, and who else?
I think there's somebody else.
Does Buffy's cousin count?
Yeah, that counts, right? They're showing her
Flashback,
getting killed.
Okay, sure. So, 2 human deaths, 1 demon death from Buffy. Angel does fucking nothing.
Yeah. The takeaway is you can skip this episode if you haven't already, and we'll see you next week with a good episode.
Not yet, though, because we're going to talk about that episode.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
I think the name of the next episode is I Only Have Eyes for You.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. And it's the, I kind of remember that one. It's the one with the, is it like a 50s high school romance or prom that's on a infinite loop? And there's a ghost until they fix the problem.
They have to reenact it or something?
Yeah. And it's with Buffy and Angel.
Yeah.
And I liked that aspect of it.
I remember it being really, really cool the way they kind of like force them to interact. It forces them to essentially reenact something that happened.
I thought that part was cool, but I don't remember really liking this episode.
We're really, really, really going to Monster of the Week here, which really sucks because I feel like season 2 hit a really good stride with innocence and passion and all those episodes right in a row just being awesome, and then it just falls off the rails with these 2 episodes. I really think that if they had just even made this 2 episodes shorter and released it without this, it would have been a stronger season.
Maybe. Well, let's not shit on this next episode too much.
Not yet, because we haven't seen it yet.
Because even last episode, we didn't think this current one, was going to be so bad. But,
no, it wasn't until halfway through when I was just like, hey, man, are you as bored as I am? Like, this is a fucktard of an episode.
Yeah, and even trying to recount what happens in the episode, I was like, oh my God, I don't
Waste
care.
of time. Yeah.
Do you have another question for me?
Yeah, do you want to get under the covers and give me a blowy?
No, that's not it.
Do you want to get under the covers just to stay warm?
Maybe.
In every generation, 2 Prose Bros are born, chosen to watch every episode of Buffy and tell you what they think about them. This is the Prose Bros Visit Sunnydale. Bitches.